When you picture the city of Troy, what do you see? Magnificent Greek temples, towering stone walls, Achilles battling Hector, and somewhere outside the city walls, a giant wooden horse. But almost everything about that picture is wrong. The city made famous by Homer's Iliad wasn't in Greece at all. It stood on the northwestern coast of what is now Turkey and was likely part of a complex network of Anatolian kingdoms, making alliances, negotiating treaties, and navigating the politics of the late Bronze Age. The nearby Dardanelles, together with the Bosphorus farther to the northeast, formed the only sea route between the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. A city overlooking this route could grow rich, influence regional politics, and become a prize worth fighting over. Troy wasn't simply a military fortress. It was a thriving commercial hub where merchants, diplomats, and travelers from different cultures met, traded, and exchanged ideas. Merchant ships carrying copper from Cyprus, tin from regions to the east, grain from the Black Sea, olive oil, wine, timber, textiles, and luxury goods all traveled through or near these waters. But what did Troy actually look like? Troy's buildings were made primarily of mud brick, resting on strong limestone foundations. The streets were narrow and winding, with tightly packed houses climbing toward the fortified citadel that dominated the hill above. For much of the 20th century, archaeologists believed Troy was little more than the small citadel visible today. But excavations in the 1980s and 1990s uncovered evidence of a much larger lower city stretching beyond the famous walls. Instead of a tiny fortress, Troy may have been home to several thousand people, making it one of the largest and most significant regional centres during the late Bronze Age. The city's defences were equally impressive. Massive limestone walls, some more than 5 meters thick at their base, surrounded the citadel. Their lower sections sloped outward, making them much harder for attackers to climb or undermine, while towers overlooked the surrounding plain. Above the surviving stone, foundations rose high mud brick walls, making the city even more imposing than the ruins suggest today. Inside those walls lived far more than soldiers. Archaeologists have uncovered workshops, imported pottery from across the eastern Mediterranean, enormous storage jars capable of holding months of grain, and evidence of metalworking and textile production. Most days in Troy weren't spent fighting legendary battles, but farming, trading, repairing homes, raising families, crafting goods, and preparing caravans and ships for their next journeys. And perhaps the biggest surprise of all, its history stretches back nearly 4,000 years. Over the millennia, the city was destroyed by fires, earthquakes, and wars, only to be rebuilt again and again. What archaeologists call Troy I, Troy II, Troy III, and so on are different chapters in the same city's remarkable history, each built directly on top of the last. The city associated with the legendary Trojan War is known as Troy VIIa. Around 1180 BC, it was violently destroyed. The evidence is intriguing. Arrowheads have been found among the ruins. Houses appear unusually crowded, as though people had moved inside the walls for protection. Large storage jars buried beneath the floors suggest the inhabitants had stockpiled food, perhaps preparing for a siege. Hittite tablets record disputes involving Wilusa, widely believed to be their name for Troy, and western kingdoms known as the Ahiawa, a name many historians associate with the Achaeans, the Mycenaean Greeks of Homer's epics. While these texts don't describe the Trojan War, they show that Troy and the Greek world were interacting and sometimes clashing centuries before Homer wrote his poem. But archaeology cannot tell us exactly what happened. The destruction is consistent with warfare, but it cannot prove who, if anyone, attacked the city. And Troy's destruction didn't happen in isolation. Around 1200 BC, much of the eastern Mediterranean entered one of history's greatest crises, known today as the Bronze Age collapse. Over the following decades, civilizations that had flourished for centuries began to fall. The mighty Hittite Empire disappeared. Major Mycenaean palace centres across Greece were abandoned or destroyed. The wealthy port city of Ugarit in modern-day Syria was burned to the ground. Long-distance trade networks collapsed. Populations declined. In some regions, writing disappeared for centuries. Historians still debate what caused this extraordinary collapse. Climate change, prolonged drought, famine, earthquakes, civil wars, and mysterious raiders known as the Sea Peoples may all have played a role. Rather than a single disaster, it was likely a chain reaction of interconnected crises that brought down much of the Bronze Age world. If Troy really did fall around this time, it wasn't simply the victim of one legendary war. it may have been caught in the collapse of an entire civilization. As for Achilles, Helen, Hector, and Paris, there is no historical evidence that any of them ever lived, though their stories may preserve distant memories of real people. Or they may simply be legends that grew over centuries before Homer transformed them into one of history's greatest epics. The real Troy was a wealthy trading centre, a strategic crossroads between Europe and Asia, a city protected by formidable walls, rebuilt generation after generation for nearly 4,000 years, until history and legend became impossible to separate. And perhaps that's the greatest mystery of all.